You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
Yep, it is that time on a Saturday once again. And unlike other Saturdays, today is supposed to be a special day, but I don't feel that it is anymore. Yeah, I'll explain a little bit why after this, but welcome to another episode of From the Desk of the Small Press Publisher. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee here. And just like the title says, 50 revolutions around the sun, which is normally is 50 years. So that's pretty much what it's about here. 50 years on the earth here. Yes, today is my birthday. So, it's supposed to be kind of like a birthday celebration type deal, but it hasn't been kind of like a birthday celebration. It almost felt like it's just another Saturday, Monday, nothing really special going on. But it is what it is. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and get the business end of stuff out the way, such as stupid o'clock happening 1 hour into this show. If we go into a second hour, and then that is followed up by Last Man Standing, then you get a little bit of a respite until Monday, where you have Nevermind the Furthermore on deck here. And then after that, then you could wait for us on this upcoming Thursday, where you have a new Comic Book Spectrum featuring myself, Elaine Haygood, and Cliff. And we're probably going to end, I don't know. Well, I think the next one is it's going to focus in on Square One TV from PBS. At least that's our thumbnail. More importantly, MathNet. If you remember MathNet and everything to that magnitude, we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit, and memories and stuff to that magnitude. Last week was pretty fun because we talked about Spidey Super Stories and everything, and that was kind of like a blast because we watched like one of the old Spidey Super Story episodes and everything. So it was cool in that aspect here. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversations and everything because we talked about the stuff that bothered us and everything to that magnitude here. And on that note here, I gotta go back over here. Okay, stop. Okay, there we go. So we have Victoria saying happy birthday. Yep, that is correct, Beanie. I am officially 10 hands old. And to be quite honest, it really doesn't feel good or bad. It's just more along the lines of, I could sit back and tell you about things that were good experience, bad experiences and everything, but there's more to come type stuff here. I kind of wish I was in a better mood, but it is what it is. Happy womb evacuation day. Yeah, it is what it is here. But the good thing here, we're going to try to do something that's more positive here, and that is we still got to do our new comic book pickups for the week. Yeah, we did get a few new books in, and I ended up getting, well, are they? Yeah, that, no, well, one is a better copy than the other, but we'll get to that aspect here in a minute here. So first on new comic book pickups for the week, we got Spider-Woman 16. This is the worst of the two that got picked up this week here. I'll tell you guys in a bit here. It's kind of like, one of the things that, because I get this way, I try to not allow other people to be the way that I get here. But I'll explain in a minute here. We got Conan the Barbarian number 59. And this one is important because I'm not a big Conan fan, but this is actually the issue that has the origin of Billet. So if you're into a lot of the female heroines and everything, this one is important because this is the origin of Billet. I still got to get first Red Sonja and the first appearance of Billet, but not Bellet. Billet, whatever. Dazzler number 31. We're getting closer and closer to finishing out the Dazzler run for volume 1. And there's the better of the two, Spider-Woman 16. And then we got Spider-Woman 23 and 28, which is pretty nice here. And then I got another Thor 300. And then we got American Dream number 1 and 2. I'm still missing 3 through 5. And the last one is the Gen 13 number 25 here. That's a second copy of that. And I just now noticed that it is a wraparound cover here because they didn't put the board is in between the two. So I don't know why they did that, but I'll get the glare out for you guys to see that it is a wraparound cover. But it is what it is here. Billy. Oh, you love the American Dream series? Okay. Yeah, it's like you missed a pile. It's like you missed a pile of Gen 13 Dazzler or something else on RT show last night. Again, I wasn't really hanging in there all that much yesterday. But I want to get back to this question here. Being that I'm former military and everything, it's like when your birthday comes around, it's not like people truly celebrate your birthday. I mean, even if you have to be around the company of people who are supposed to be, if I could say, good acquaintances where they should know and should, make, days like that happy and everything to that magnitude, that doesn't always happen. And in most of my life, that doesn't really happen. It's like, my family stuff would maybe say happy birthday. I did get a card from my sister, my mother, did like a little bit of a grilled steak for me, and that's it. Nothing other, nothing really extravagant. I had an extravagant birthday in several years here. So, but I also know what it felt like while I was in the Air Force to not have little to nobody tell you happy birthday on your birthday. So that's kind of like one of the reasons why, I use Facebook a lot. It's like, if I'm like an acquaintance or anything to that magnitude to you, I would take time out just to make certain that I tell, people happy birthday on their birthday, because I know what it feels when nobody acknowledges you on your day, or as Parallax Spectre said, the womb evacuation day. I know what that feels like and how it feels. And, sometimes, it does bring kind of like that lonely feeling that nobody cares. And for a lot of people that I have friends on Facebook or whatever platform that I'm on that actually highlights people's birthdays, it's not about how well I know you. It's just the simple fact that I know that feeling very well. And I just don't like like it when it happens to me. So I don't want other people to go through that. I really don't. You know, every person in that aspect is kind of special in that aspect here. But today is more along the lines of you hit 50. 50 is a milestone. It's a milestone birthday. And a lot of people would take this milestone birthday and be like, well, you're old, or getting into the older class. And I'm up here like, this should be more like a midway point, We're getting to the day and age where, dying at, in your upper 90s and 100s is getting back to the norm. I mean, if we go based upon King James Bible, we have people living hundreds of years. Methuselah, I think, was like 500 and some odd years. I mean, it's one of those things that you kind of have to, really, not really think about, but if you let other people use those type of categories, it's like 50 is really not old. It's kind of like the mentality that you have to have, and it's more or less a mentality that you have to, keep yourself up and do the right things, everything to that magnitude here. But it's one of those aspects of, if you allow it to become like a crisis type aspect, it will. And I'm not one of those type of people, but I do get in that aspect of, it's like, wow, I'm getting close to that so-called retirement age. I'm getting so, close to all. It's like people would say like the tail end of life. And I was like, it shouldn't be the tail end of life unless you're like really, really sick, or you're, really in a bad way. But to me, this is supposed to be more like a midpoint. It's like, if the average person is supposed to live, close to 100, this is a midpoint. It should be, celebrated. We shouldn't have to wait until like we're 80, 90 years old to try to make a big deal that you outlasted a lot of other people. It's just not right in that aspect here. Let me get back to what you guys are saying here. Yeah, I have all the American Dreams of all the Avengers next. And I have her action figure. Okay. If you need me, all you have to do is hit me. Okay. Yeah, I had no idea you were in the service. Thank you for your service. No problem. But I thought, I don't really talk about my time in the Air Force, to be quite honest here. I really don't say too much about that. And then Aaron's here. It's like, yeah, happy birthday, 50. Yeah. Everybody keeps saying that 50 is a big milestone, but it doesn't feel that way. It really doesn't. It really doesn't all that much. But I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of like like I said, my mood is more along the lines like, what, I'm trying to understand what is the big to do here. And to me, it just seems like it's so far, it's been like no different than another Saturday. In a way, I kind of wish it was different, but in another way, maybe not. If you was wondering, I was just checking my phone. So it was a notification here. I have it kind of like going silent and whatnot at this point here. But I wish I was in better spirits, because that way I could have been like, well, I could have did X, Y, and Z, and did this, and this here. But let's get back to some brass tacks here. Even though it's my birthday, that still does not allow me to get away with not being accountable for some things here. So I'm going to say it here first. Hopefully those who read our comics would look at this video, and hopefully they will be understanding here. Oh, hold on. Let's see. Yeah, I think airplanes are neat. Did you fly like Iron Eagles? And I know it's a dumb question, but my frame of reference. Well, Iron Eagles was kind of fictional because of the simple fact that a 16-year-old would not be doing military or black ops missions. But no, if anything, I was being more or less trained. Like if you think about Top Gun, I would have been either like a Rio or a navigator or like a bomber. Even though I would, if I would have kept up with it and pursued my license, I could still fly airplanes. I started my process here, but I never finished the process after my Cessna training. But if with all the training that I did have as far as actual flight experience here, if you ever watched Top Gun, I would have been more like Goose. I would have been the back seat, looking at radar, making certain that he hits his certain points and making certain that there's nothing around us at any given time here. And I don't know if there was ever a movie that ever dealt with navigators on like bombers, but that's what's more of the training that I had than anything else. I wasn't getting trained to be the main guy, the main pilot. I was being trained because of my height. I was getting trained to be more of the navigator. I would have been on those type of planes, but I would have been making certain that the pilot is hitting all his actual marks as far as the towers and stuff is concerned to make certain that we're navigating in the proper direction. So that should have answered that question more so than anything else here. So accountability, things that I am going to say I am quite embarrassed about this. Primetime Saturday Night number 5. If you got it from us from C2E2, consider yourself lucky. Why? Because now you're in possession of an error version of that issue. How do I know? Because recently I went and looked at our inventory. I picked up one of the issues because I started working on issue number 6 of Primetime Saturday Night. And as I was looking through the actual printed version, there are pages that are missing text. There's a lot of pages missing text. The story is there, the images and everything is there. It's just that there's, the dialogue, some of the dialogue and stuff is missing on some of the pages here. And we have to get that corrected. So consider yourselves lucky that you have the error version of that here. And for those who did get it signed at C2E2 and bought it from us at C2E2, if you can remember next year and bring it back to us, I'll give you a free copy of the actual issue number 5. All you have to do is just show me that you have the error copy. I just go ahead and be like, here you go. No questions asked. This is kind of, like I said, it's accountability. I thought everything was perfectly fine here. And then when I saw the actual print version, I actually went back to the file that we sent over to the printers. And that's where I started catching the errors and everything there. So it wasn't the printer's fault. It was the actual file that they received here. So I have to take that one on the chin here. So if you got Primetime Saturday Night number 5 from us at C2E2, consider yourself lucky of having the error version because they go bye-bye. No, we're not destroying them. Just like we didn't destroy the Primetime Saturday Night number 1, the error copies of number 1s. I still have a few of those still around. I don't give those out too often. But since we are mentioning Primetime Saturday Night here, let me go ahead and do this. I did start work on it, and a certain person in the chat may be happy because this is going to be where a character based off of them get their start. Now, I don't have it in page format as of yet. I just did the panels and everything to get everything kind of rolling and rocking right now. So we got like 3 pages of the 50+ page book. done so far. And I think that's a total because the first page is a splash page. So far, it is a total of 10 panels altogether, but it's still 3 pages nonetheless here. And I keep forgetting it's because it's 3 pages and everything, you know. It's pretty much what it is. But there you have it. We are in the process of getting issue number 6 done. So hopefully you guys are liking what you're seeing here. And for those who are Patreon subscribers, you probably have seen what we're doing with Legends of the Giantess Slayer, because we did our Not Safe for Work covers and we posted them there. So if you're on the ultimate tier to see the Not Safe for Work stuff, you will be able to see them there here. But outside of that, I think that's pretty much it. But I'm just, you know, I'm kind of bummed about what happened with issue number 5, because we doubled and triple checked before we sent it over, and then I had to, you know, have egg on my face. I mean, we had close to like 10 pages that was missing text in some form or some fashion. Either the text boxes and dialogue was not completely there. Some pages had the text boxes and the bubbles there, but no wording. It was just weird. It's just weird printing errors. And just like, I didn't realize that until, like I said, a couple of days ago. So I'm probably going to end up doing a newsletter apologizing for that and reiterating what is being said here, or just having a link to this video for people to know specifically what I'm going to do here. So if you do have that error copy, don't worry about it. You will get a free one. You will get a free one. The only thing you have to do is just bring it back at a show or anything, or give me some type of video or something like that showing that you have the error copy. We'll make certain that you get one. That's pretty much all I can do at that point here. But outside of that, you know, since this is a birthday show, we're just going to kind of make it like, you know, a free for all. What do you guys want to talk about here? You know, what books are catching your fancy, and how, yeah, we could do that. What books are catching your fancy, and try to convince me to actually read them. That would be an interesting thing, because those who know me, I don't really care too much for horror, but I don't mind certain things that comes off as thrillers or detective type aspects here. But the blood and gore, I could care less. That doesn't you know, vote well, you know, as a whole here. Like I stated with Conan, I'm not a big barbarian or might and magic type, but again, I do collect Red Sonja. So there's certain aspects of you know, sword and sorcery and magic that I would accept and read as a whole here. Then there's certain things in sci-fi that I just be like, yeah, that's just too far out. But yet I read a whole bunch of it. You know, I'm a big fan of Challengers. I'm a big fan of Fantastic Four. You know, even though I don't have a big Fantastic Four collection as a certain member of our esteemed chat here, but I do have some. You know, I read a lot of My Greatest Adventures, which eventually led to Doom Patrol. Now, for those who may not know, Doom Patrol was kind of like the preludes of X-Men. And I know some of you, I know it wasn't. Doom Patrol predates X-Men. So, yeah, it does. It's like, it's me. I have every issue of Fantastic Four. Hi. So, you know, it's kind of like one of those things here. Now, you know, one of the other things that I've also been avoiding too, is a good thing that I kind of been avoiding. It's like I've been watching what a lot of the other YouTubers and stuff have been saying out there, comic book wise and other stuff, and it just, It's not worth ranting anymore. It's just really not worth ranting. To me, it's like we need to get back to enjoying comics. We need to get back to reading and loving what we like here. And it's like, yeah, Doom Patrol and Challengers predate X-Men and Fantastic Four. Yep. Ironically enough, DC, surprisingly enough, is where Doom Patrol is supposed to be akin to X-Men. But it really wasn't X-Men because of the simple fact that there was no such thing as mutants and anything in Doom Patrol. It's just, these weird happenstance that happened with certain people, and Niles Calder did whatever he did or was able to explain whatever they explained. However, guess who worked on Challengers of the Unknown back in the day? Yes, our great little friend called Jack Kirby. And you know what Jack Kirby did in Challengers of the Unknown? Jack Kirby prototyped the Fantastic Four. Not necessarily a four individuals with powers, but he did a story where one of the challengers got inundated with these type of rays from an alien species and everything, and he got four unique powers. And it was kind of like a prototype of what would have happened if DC would have went ahead with the Fantastic Four. And eventually we got what we got in Marvel, which is, to me, is superior what they did in Challengers of the Unknown here. But yes, people don't realize that technically what led up to the Fantastic Four actually happened in DC's Challengers of the Unknown here. Yep. Just like Namor, Namor predates Aquaman. Exactly. Namor does predate Aquaman because he was around a lot longer through Marvel comics through Timely. But yeah, Jack Kirby technically created the prototype for Fantastic Four in Challengers of the Unknown for DC while he was working at DC. Interesting. It's very interesting in that aspect here. And it was just it just came to my recent knowledge about that, so that's the reason why I'm able to talk about it. It's not something that is like one of those things that is like, oh, I've been doing this for years. It's like, no, I just pretty much came across it and everything, and then other people started talking about it. And then what drove me up the wall is that the investors are now saying, oh, we got to go and get this Challengers of the Unknown issue because of the Fantastic Four movie. It's like, no, stop. If I was a referee, it'd be like, where's that football flag with the weight up in it, that yellow football flag, and I want to throw it in somebody's eye or right at their head. It'd be like, penalty. Penalty, unnecessary buying. Unnecessary buying. Give me $20 and then go reevaluate your collection. That's the way I would put it. Because unless you're a fan of Challengers of the Unknown, it reads nothing like Fantastic Four. Nothing. But it introduced the kind of like the core powers here. There was still invisibility, there was still flame. The elasticity was not there. I forgot what replaced elasticity. And control over the body, which means that he could have like rock armor. But there was no elasticity. It was some other power. But it got prototype there. Matter of fact, hold on. I'm going to give you guys the issue number here. Bear with me for 1 second here. That way, for those who don't believe me, you could go look this up yourself. There was an early Challengers of the Unknown here. So you're looking at Challengers of the Unknown. I want to say it was like issue like this. It was early, like 5 or 6. No, it's issue 3. It was issue 3 of Challengers of the Unknown here. So since I have it over here, let me open up the tab here where I can show you the cover. Okay, we're going to bring this back up to one of my not so favorite websites here, but it's going to do as far as getting us the cover that we need here. Challengers of the Unknown. If I could type. There it is, right here. Challengers of the Unknown, issue number 3. Art by Jack Kirby, cover art by Jack Kirby, edited by Jack Scriff, written by David Wood. It was a 10-cent cover here. It's not going to give you much more detail than that here, but that's how the cover actually looks here. But this predates the Fantastic Four. And the issue is like featuring the Invincible Challenger. But yeah, the Invincible Challenger was the actual prototype that led to the Fantastic Four. See, I didn't get a chance to read that one, but let me get this. Like, I saw Fantastic Four today. I loved it. I love it. Not that anybody cares. No, you can love that movie if you want. No, it's not that nobody cares. It's just more along the lines. I'm waiting for it to come out to streaming because I'm not one to go out to theaters anymore. The theater experience to me is overrated. It's overrated and too expensive. And I can never call. I never call the FF original. Yeah. Yeah, I read Neil Adams' Challengers of the Unknown and liked it. Yeah. Yeah, the Fantastic Four movie is good. Tori, did you notice that they were on World 828? I did not see. That's a little bit too much information here. That's a little bit too much information here. 828. Jack Kirby is born 828. So technically he's a Virgo. Jack Kirby is a Virgo. I like Fantastic Four, though Superman was better. Again, I haven't seen neither movie as of yet. Again, I'm not one for the theater experience here, but this is the prototype. This is the issue that prototypes the powers that the Fantastic Four has. And I just don't understand. And maybe somebody who is more, if I could say, in depth with Challengers than I am. But one of the things that I got tired of in Challengers of the Unknown is that Rocky was typically the one that always got whatever powers or whatever unique that needs to happen to an individual. It was always Rocky that became that guy. Oh, we need somebody to turn into a giant. We're going to make Rocky the giant. Now Rocky goes mad with power and this, that, and the other. It's like, stop that. It's like there's other characters in Challengers that, you know, could have been inundated with something or been sick with something and everything to that magnitude. It doesn't have to be Rocky all the time. And, you know, that's kind of like one of the things that I just don't, you know, care about as far as the Challengers is concerned. And on top of that, the woman right here, June, she was there ever since issue 1, but she did not officially become a member of the Challengers until much later. But she was always kind of like that extra professor or that extra scientific mind that they would go to from time to time. So they say it was right at the beginning of the movie, Joe. So it's not a spoiler. No, I wasn't care. I don't care about the spoiler aspect of it. It's just more along the lines. It's like I just haven't watched the movie as of yet. And the whole thing about Franklin, a lot of the things that people kind of been spoiling about the movie, it's like, okay, fine. You guys acting like you never read Earth X. If you ever read Earth X, you would know that Franklin becomes the next Galactus. It makes sense. But people just don't read. People just don't care. And again, that also comes back down to the other reason why, you know, I'm not making a big deal about what other people have been saying on the interwebs here. Yep, pretty much Rocky is the main. Yep. And that's the one thing that I didn't like about the Challengers of old, you know, the 1960s Challengers. And I read a lot of the issues and it's like, oh wow, this team is pretty good as a unit, figuring out different things and everything, but why does everything have to happen to Rocky? Why does Rocky is the one that has to always get these weird powers and these weird conditions put on him? That to me just, you know, like, eh. It was only one time something ever happened to June, but they never did it again. But every time it's just like, oh no, Rocky has this, you know, Rocky about to get ready to die because he caught this. And I'm like, stop that. Yeah, Earth X is directly referenced with Shalabal Surfer. Yep. So, you know, people don't realize that. So that's kind of like, you know, I'm seeing all the jokes and stuff about, you know, all the Rose Fest from Galactus talking mess. I saw some of those too. But, you know, I'll wait until it gets to streaming here. Yep. Oh, there's Don. Of course. Well, again, people who have not read the comics will understand what Herbie actually is. Those who watched the 19, I want to say 84, 85 Fantastic Four, where they replaced Johnny with Herbie, never understood what Herbie actually represented. It's just like the way that they did it in that version of Fantastic Four just seemed kind of out, you know, out there. But even though it was a rights issue for using the term Human Torch, it was more along the lines like, you know, that was the next best character to have for them to do Fantastic Four with, is to let Herbie substitute in for Johnny, because again, they couldn't really do they couldn't do Johnny as Human Torch because of the simple fact that the rights of Human Torch still could have been to the Android or Toro during that time. But that's just really what it is here. Yep. Hi, Don Donderson. It's Don the dealer. Get it right. Yep. No, you're not really late. Yeah, I was hoping that they had Roberta. Yep. The robot with legs. Yeah. But then again, it's kind of like it's weird because in a way it was still 1960s Fantastic Four, and I think I would enjoy this movie because it was that way. It's like, yeah, they had the audio series where Bill Murray was Johnny. Yeah. Yeah, but the cartoon, the animated, this 1984-85 animated series, they removed Johnny, and it was just weird. It was weird in that aspect here. When the Fantastic Four property was made into an animated series in 1978, the Human Torch was not available. Was not available due to having option for the motion picture. Yeah. Yeah. I knew it was a rights issue, but it was what it was. Yeah, just was why I like it was like why I like it, but I won't spoil it. Yeah. Yeah, and people say, oh, they don't want the kids to set themselves on fire. Yeah, that was the other thing. There was the so-called safety concern. But yet you had a 1964 version of the Fantastic Four done by Hanna-Barbera that specifically said featured in Marvel Comics. And they did not stray too much from the source material in the Hanna-Barbera 60 series. So again, as time goes on, it seems like people just got stupid. Beanie wants to buy Joe Wonder Woman 84 on Blu-ray. I won't turn it down, but at the same time, it would be like a movie that I would not watch. Yeah, I am old enough to. I'm old enough to use the Wayback Machine now, Elaine. I'm old enough to use the Wayback Machine. Yeah, they were literally lifted Kirby Center panels from the book for the Hanna-Barbera. Yes. Yeah, she is laughing. Yep, they did. In some cases, they did. I mean, a lot of those cartoons were like almost verbatim, except for certain things here. Like, for example, the way that Doctor Doom looked was not 100% accurate, but Molecule Man, it looked like, oh, take this panel. It's like, can we have this page over here? Because we're going to have to take a photograph of this, just like you guys do. We're going to cut it out. We're going to get our nice little animation paper. We're going to get our light box, and we're going to light box all of this stuff. Yeah, not without my permission. Peabody and I have rules, But seriously, Fantastic Four to me, I think, going to rejuvenate the interest in Marvel properties. Now, I'm glad for a couple of things here, but I'm also kind of sad too. Because of some of the other stuff that actually was going on here behind the scenes, we're not going to get Young Avengers. We're not going to get a lot of the newer characters anymore. That could be a good or bad thing. most likely towards the good than the bad, because most people want the legacy characters. That was evident dealing with the latest news with Ironheart, and the fact that Ironheart season 2 was abruptly canceled. And then on top of that, we seen that they put on hiatus Miss Marvel season 2, permanently on hiatus, even though they said, yeah, we're doing season 2. So a lot of the younger characters, such as like the twins, Wanda's twins, they're going bye-bye. Kamala, which kind of ticks me off, bye-bye. So far, only because it's animated, we're still going to see Miles. So Miles is still, still up and going because it's animated. But live action, no more Kate Bishop, no more Kamala, no more Riri Williams, no more twins. No more. It's a lot. It's a lot going on behind the scenes here. Is it a day of reckoning at Marvel? No. But I think somebody woke up over there and up here was like, yeah, marketing department, go over here for a bit. Whatever is your Q score for these younger characters to get the younger crowd ain't going to work, because the older people are the ones that are paying to go to these movies. And if you're not giving them something that they like, those movies are going to tank here. Yeah. It's like, hi, Lady Lane, it's me, Dee. Yeah, she said that loud, so she said the name. Okay. So pretty much, to me, does that change the landscape of a lot of stuff? Probably so. But it also makes me wonder why Doom is getting introduced in an Avengers movie and not a Fantastic Four. And Elaine is saying hi to Beanie, and Beanie is up to something. She is giggling. She is plotting against me with her godfather. Oh, okay. Sorry, I was having a bout with long COVID. No worries about that here. She won't tell me, neither will he. Okay. But that's kind of like the main thing here. It's like Marvel Studios kind of woke up on a couple of things, but my gripes about some of it. Was Ironheart bad? Not really. Was it something that people were clamoring for? No. To me, I'm still trying to understand why people are up here talking about, well, she's replacing Iron Man, she's replacing Tony Stark. It's like, that's MCU. MCU, they killed off Tony Stark. But the thing about it, because the twins are now here, technically you could do The Crossing as a movie and bring back young Tony Stark and do the whole BS thing that they did in the comics to get Tony Stark back if need be. But then again, I don't think RDJ wants to do Iron Man ever again. So if you did do something like The Crossing, you want to have to recast Tony. But, it is what it is here. You're like, it's like, need soup hug. You need soup hugs. Yep. No such thing as a bad character, only bad writers. Exactly. The series, the series started Riri in such a way where people just didn't like her. I can say that with great confidence about a lot of the female characters that been in Marvel Cinematics, except for a handful. Riri was never liked. Carol Danvers was never truly liked. They wrote a bad Black Widow movie to make her unlikable now with screwed Scarlett Johansson over. However, the character that played her sister is one of the best things that came out of the movie and into the Marvel Cinematics up under TV series up under Hawkeye and everything. A lot of it, it's like there's good and bad. We got a good Kamala Khan in the Miss Marvel TV series. We got a decent Monica Rambeau. And that was the key thing about the Marvels that people slept on story wise. The Marvels movie really bridged the gap between Captain Marvel, the movie, WandaVision, and Miss Marvel. Because people don't realize that the Marvels movie truly was not the focus on Carol like it was supposed to be. It really was focusing on Monica and Kamala. Because technically they were the mantle holders for Carol. Carol was doing her own thing. But again, people slept on that story aspect. Exposition. Achoo, we're allergic to exposition. We don't care about that. Why? Because we hate Brie Larson and we hate Captain Marvel. Okay. Don't like that character. But at least look at the story for what it is. The story was pretty much Kamala and Monica dealing with how they had to grow up around and deal with Carol. Remember, Kamala was idolizing Carol. Monica grew up around Carol, and Carol let her down. Carol disappeared on her not once, but twice. In her moments of need, Carol wasn't there. That's one of the reasons why the Marvels was an underrated movie, but it was also a misunderstood movie because everybody had so much Carol hate that they couldn't see the bigger picture. Okay, y'all guys were talking here, so let me come back. Here. Yeah, I made some soup. I'm making some soup here, and Beanie can nurse you, so she has gloves and a mask. They would give him a dump truck of money, and he will come back. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know because if they did, what was it called? Something Tropic, and they did that to him to reprise his character from Tropic Thunder. Because I wouldn't mind him going back and rehashing that character. But again, we're in an ultra sensitive light of things here. Because Tropic Thunder knew exactly what they were trying to do, and the dynamics between him and the actual character who was actual African American was priceless to illustrate what they were going through for this so-called war movie that they were making, that they actually stumbled into the actual war itself. So if they ever did a Tropic Thunder 2, they would have to give him a hellified boatload of money to reprise that character. Because again, people are screaming outrage because of what he did in Tropic Thunder 1. Yeah, it's too hot to have soup, so I'm focusing on iced tea and D. Frozen snacks. Sorry. I hit the wrong button. Okay. Yeah, the actor who did Human Torch could have been Iron Man since he's similar to Robert Downey Jr. See, I have not seen Fantastic Four yet, so I can't really comment that way here. Especially after Civil War 2, they ruined the goodwill they have been building up with Carol. Yeah, it wasn't Danvers as much as the actress. That's true. That is true to a certain degree. But then again, let me say this thing here. The all-female Ghostbusters technically wasn't bad because of the acting. It was bad because of poor writing. But yet, people got on the bandwagon to hate it. Just because it wasn't, Ray, Egon, Winston, and Peter. However, when we got the newer Ghostbusters, dealing with Egon's family taking over, nobody complained then. But the all-female Ghostbuster, it was acted fairly well. It was just a bad written movie. And it's just a hard, with everything that was said by the actresses, with everything that was said by the moviegoers, neither side really came after the writer to say, hey, stop writing bad MF in movies. You did a disservice to those that were cast, and you did a disservice to those that watched that movie. In the case of Captain Marvel, there is a little bit of poor writing up in it, but the actress did the damage that she did in the statements that she did in press conference after the release of Captain Marvel. This is after all the hype up about her being the most powerful character in the MCU. And they're about to really, bump up that push for Carol Danvers. And then she goes and says what she says and did the damage with fans of Marvel, which to a certain degree may or may not have been true, 100% accurate. I would say 100% accurate. There was some of it there, but it was not 100% accurate. It did this damage. It did its damage so much that those who did see Marvels carried it over into Marvels because of the actress, which kind of hurts the film as a whole. It was a movie that, because of the time that it came out, did not receive any type of advertising. It flew up under the radar, and people really didn't get to watch it until it came out on streaming. And when it came out on streaming, people were screaming bloody murder for scenes that said actress was in. Screw the actresses that did Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau. They focused in on her, and I just don't know what else to say here. Yeah, I liked him as Human Torch, though. Okay. Yeah, people did not like Larson mostly. She was pretty miscast. Miscast. Maybe. Maybe. But then again, I still come back to, can you separate the artist from their work? You might like some of the things that they have worked on, but the actual person may be an asshole. I think that's what really happened with Brie Larson. Too many people put her in that asshole category where they can't separate the character that she plays with her. I actually like Thunderbolts, but I'm weird that way. I haven't seen Thunderbolts. That reminds me, I need to see Thunderbolts, but I have to go and watch that here. But it would be nice for me to see, Red Guardian again, working with US Agent, working with White Widow, and a couple others here. The bad thing about Thunderbolts, the movie, is that the movie has nothing to do with the comic books. Zero. So let's just say if Thunderbolts really was that mega blockbuster hit, do you know what Marvel had to rush and do then? They would have to create a Thunderbolts that mimic that if they were trying to convert the moviegoers into comic book readers. Again, they did themselves a disservice by naming that movie the Thunderbolts. They did themselves a disservice, but that's a whole nother ball of wax here. Yeah, Brie Larson made some comments that inferred that she had no respect for the fandom. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that goes right back to what I was saying, separating the actual artists from their work. Once she made those comments, people just like, nope, ain't gonna go there. Thunderbolts were fun. I hate the comics. And I hate the comics. But the thing about it is that the Thunderbolts that was in the comics has nothing to do with the Thunderbolts movie. That's the weird thing about it. Yeah, but then again, I could have given two poops about Deadpool, and Ryan Reynolds wants to make 7 more. But here's the thing, and I'm maybe not the right person to say this about Deadpool, because technically, as a character in the comics, I could care less about Deadpool. I could care less. As far as movies is concerned, they struck oil with Ryan Reynolds playing the character. He made the character likable and lovable, despite all of the messed up things that the character did in the comics. Now, one of the things that I could say in the comics that kind of makes Deadpool palatable is with certain team ups, you get to see that glimpse of what Ryan Reynolds brings to the table playing him. A lot of the Deadpool Spider-Man stories, I see a lot of that stuff that's in those books translated over to movies and stuff, and it makes sense here. But him as a solo character, no. It's always going to be Deadpool plus whatever other characters that they have him to encounter. Deadpool by himself could not carry a movie. That's just the way the character is designed. The main character from the comic books is not designed to be a full-fledged character that will be able to carry a whole movie by themselves. This is the reason why, everybody loves the Colossus that was in the first 2 movies. The whole thing about the X-Force joke was so funny. The whole thing about Cable was so funny. but it is what it is. As good as Ryan Reynolds is, the character Deadpool could not carry a whole movie by himself without any other type of team ups happening. Yeah, Tropic Thunder would never get green. Yeah, if they did a Tropic Thunder 2, like I said, there have to be a big boatload of money for Robert Downey Jr. to reprise his character. It would have to be, because people are overly sensitive to that type of stuff here. Yeah, Reynolds, I said, is an outlier. Yeah. Yeah, he got a good enough cachet that he doesn't have to listen to the marketing team and just does what he likes. Exactly. And again, he was first choice to be Hal Jordan. And we saw how that poorly written movie ended up for him. It wasn't his acting. It was a poorly written movie. But think about it. If Green Lantern was a hit movie, he would have never been Deadpool. He would have been Hal. Yeah, like Blazing Saddles, Brooks put, front and center the stupidity and the audacity of racism, and the youngster was like, oh, race, yeah. If it wasn't for Blazing Saddles, we would not have Cleavon Little as a household name. Yeah, it's like, because it's unheard of for a black sheriff. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Especially in the Western, no, it's not. But we would have never had Cleavon Little as a household name if it wasn't for Blazing Saddles. It is what it is here. Yeah, Chris Evans played Torch in the Fantastic Four. No, the last Johnny Storm was actually played by Michael B. Jordan. But we're talking about a Fantastic Four movie that nobody recognized as a Fantastic Four movie. That's the difference here. Yeah, but Chris Evans did play Johnny Storm before he became Cap. And to me, if he didn't play Johnny Storm, I think he would have never grown enough to play Captain America the way that he did here too. Yeah, that movie was blah. There was no writing. He just kept kept ad-libbing, and they didn't work out, the whole thing. Yeah. Like everything else, like the 3 OG Ghostbusters and Ernie Hudson was the everyman. That is why I like the newer Ghostbusters movies, because that was the myth. That was the myth about Winston Zeddemore. Winston was not truly the everyman. They never truly written his character to really highlight what he was until, what was it? This last Ghostbusters movie here. The very last one that they did. Eventually, Winston was being groomed to make Ghostbusting incorporated. That was the weirdness. At least that was the way that Harold Ramis was going with this thing here. Now, also, I'm also going to bring up the one other thing that they never got into with the movies here. But it has been stated by the OGs that played in the movies here. If you ever played Ghostbusters, the video game, not the stuff for the NES or anything, I'm talking about for modern day consoles, Ghostbusters, the video games. Technically, that was what Harold Ramis originally had in mind for Ghostbusters 3. They were going to bring in somebody new in addition to the original four and Janine and everybody else as a brand new weapons tester. And they were about to get ready to expand the Ghostbusters universe where they're not centralized in New York anymore. Now we got the all-female Ghostbusters that happened. Part of what happened there is still canon. Different universe, but it's kind of still canon. And then they did the last two movies. And the last two movies, I actually enjoyed those. I actually enjoyed the last two. But it's interesting. It's interesting nonetheless here. But Winston was groomed to carry the franchise because they knew that Peter didn't want to be anything like a CEO. Ray was like, I just only was in it for the lore. Egon was the pure scientist. The only person that could have understood the magnitude and the necessity for having Ghostbusters across the globe was Winston. Even though they made him more like a everyman when his responses, the lore from the real Ghostbusters TV show and what they was planning to do from the video game was leading him to be what he eventually became in these last two Ghostbusters movies. He secretly invested a lot of the money that they did make towards the tail end to start a secret corporation that was doing exactly that, uncovering a lot of the mythos behind what they was originally built the franchise on. All the different weaponry and everything that was in those, secret silos and stuff to that magnitude in the newer two movies was really because of Winston taking over and stepping up to become like a CEO. But I kind of wish the old everyman thing was more true. OG Marvel, yep, OG Marvel movies would rock. They might have to go. They might have to do that, just like they might end up bringing back Kang. But we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. The whole thing with Kang, they never resolved that either. They never resolved technically they resolved the whole Celestial thing in the Captain America movie. Why? Because now they admit that adamantium is here. So that is steps to bring the X-Men into the MCU, or at least Wolverine. But you never know. Ron, I thought Jude Law was going to be Marvel, and then she would get powers. Yeah, it was like Rachel Zellweger with Snow White. Oh God. I laugh because that's one of the reasons why I just don't like the internet from time to time, because it's like, yeah, Renee's, Rachel Zellweger as Snow White. It's like, it's a role. Fairest of them all is still if I could say it in these nicer terms, it's like it's still in the eyes of the beholder. For a fairy tale movie, it doesn't matter who plays Snow White. They could have got somebody way uglier than her, and it could still be done where she could be the fairest of them all, as long as you don't have somebody that's hotter than her being her so-called stepmother, the queen. Just saying. Just saying. It's just like, people on the internet was just weird in that aspect. Just very, very weird. Yeah. Yeah, she ended up doing the same type of character suicide that Brie Larson did eventually. And the movie tanked because of it. But again, she's not a bad actress. But again, we're in a day and age, especially with a lot of the younger people, they have a hard time separating the actress or artist from their work. Rachel's body of work is far superior than the stupid comments that she said. But it is what it is. Yeah, the problem is that they hire bad writers who either don't respect the material or they just suck at writing for women. Bingo. Thank you. So Aaron is thinking. And Elaine is saying hello to Aaron. Okay, OG Miss Marvel. I do like the new one though. Okay, so he wants Carol to go through the Miss Marvel phase, which is fair. That is fair. They can actually do that. They can actually do that with a brand new actress and kind of overwrite the stuff with Brie Larson and then retie it back into Kamala. And that way you don't lose what you had already started with Kamala Khan in season 1 in Miss Marvel. But it is what it is for right now. Brie Larson was smarmy and arrogant, two things that Carol is not. The reason why I'm stopping there is because when she made the change from Miss Marvel to Captain Marvel, we started to see the arrogance. Again, this is the reason why Civil War 2 pretty much vilified Carol. Carol was way wrong. But her hubris got the best of her. But that's because of the simple fact of the mantle that she was carrying. Marvel's. More so than anything else. They were, doing everything the wrong way. And technically, and this is I still feel this way. Carol should have just stuck with being binary, and that would have went from Miss Marvel to binary. Technically, Monica should have held the Captain Marvel title. Even though she wasn't Kree, she still should have carried the Captain Marvel title. But no, she went by Photon and a couple other things here. And I still feel Carol should have became binary and not Captain Marvel. Yeah, I said it, but by the time we get to Civil War in a way that they was writing Carol in Captain Marvel during that time, she was arrogant. Very arrogant. Smarmy, not so much. Arrogant, yeah, she was. that was her downfall in Civil War II. She could not admit that she was wrong. Kind of like how in Civil War One, Tony could not admit that he was wrong about certain things here. Yeah, he had a knee-jerk reaction as the Secretary of Defense. A very knee-jerk reaction. But he did what he did for the greater good, but he could also admit that he was technically wrong. Same thing with Carol. Carol allowed a lot of people to die because she couldn't admit that she was wrong. But that's a whole other thing. Miscast, definitely. Joe, she was not that convincing. Nope. Just like, yeah, you would love Red Guardian Thunderbolts. Yeah. I mean, I liked him in the Black Widow movie. He was fine in the Black Widow movie. So was White Widow. They're both were perfectly fine. I couldn't stand the quote unquote person that played them that was the so-called mom that was undercover. She was an asshole. But Red Guardian, he actually liked the fact that he was technically doing something for the country that he loved, and the fact that he was a father figure to both Natasha and Iana. And that's the thing. He actually enjoyed that. And I was like, you know what? It's like I can't hate a person like that. I can't. Even if it gave me shades of the old USA series of The Americans, because that's how that part of the movie played out. It's like, oh, so Marvel's doing their version of The Americans, and they doing this with people who was like with a couple of people that could have actual powers. Because I wasn't certain if the person that was playing the mom actually had powers or not, the so-called doctor. But yeah, Red Guardian in that movie, I liked him. I liked him a lot. Yeah, it was like the Karana chick here. Yeah. Oh yeah. Disney actually apologized to her. She wasn't completely right, but she wasn't wrong. That's the difference. Plus, her fan base appreciated her. Now, it would have been different if the fan base would have turned on her. Then it would have been a whole different story. But the fan base did not turn on her. And that's kind of like the thing here. If the fan base turn on you, it doesn't matter. They turned on Brie, but Brie gave them reason to. Karana, you had some that did and some that didn't, but the majority didn't. So Disney did what they normally do to be safe. They canned her real quick, fast, in a hurry, tried to sweep it up under the rug, and it just didn't go away until it was proven that she was kind of right. But being kind of right does not necessarily mean that you was 100% right. 100% is never a good thing in those type of conversations that she had. Like you said, Elaine, she should have said what she said and then shut up. Then have to go the extent that she did to really try to prove her point. Just say it, move on. You kind of killed Black Tom, you racist. Oh boy. You know, these young kids are they are what they are. Again, going back to X-Men First Class, people were saying it's like, oh, this movie is racist because you killed Darwin. Okay, go back and read the books about Darwin and what his powers are. Then tell me, then tell me if it was racist or not. Yeah, when the first Iron Man movie, mom was like, it can only be Robert Downey Jr. or Tom Cruise because they can do the arrogant, unlikable, and make it work. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say Tom Cruise, but Robert Downey Jr. He could do the arrogant, he could do the unlikable, and he could definitely do the drunk. That was the key thing. The third thing is the key thing. You need somebody that could be arrogant, not necessarily unlikable, but they got to know how to be a belligerent drunk, a very belligerent drunk that just doesn't give a care. He was a perfect fit. Robert Downey Jr. was a perfect fit in that aspect here. Ghostbusters, the video game, is Ghostbusters 3. You know, it takes place in 1991, which became a doctor like the others. And like I said, he became a doctor like the others. And he also, you know, kind of took on that role of being like that CEO or the head doc or the head. I forgot what the term they use in hospitals, but it's kind of like the head administrative doctor or something like that for the franchise. Yeah, the franchise, right? You know, the franchise right along with millions of dollars. Peter Ghostbusters 1. Yeah. They had a gold mine. They were sitting on a gold mine. The equipment that they used was a gold mine as far as technology was concerned for the time frame of the 80s that it was set in. People don't realize how deep Ghostbusters go. Gotta run, friends. Happy birthday. Thank you. And hope that it was a good one. And we got Aaron going, you know, everybody saying goodbye. It's like, feel better, Laney Langford. Yeah, I'm getting better. It started to cool down, so I can't. It's like I can't focus with all the heat. Yeah, heat sucks. Why do I need to go to my front door for real? Like on Facebook. Oh, the stuff about the memories, you know, the memories that they up here put out here for 10 years ago, dealing with my sister and everything, and some of the photos that happened from different stuff. I don't think so. Lost track of Carol after she became binary. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happened after the whole binary stuff here. Yeah, Disney apologized due to political pressure. I know that I know enough about the system to know that they were going to stick her in some sucky film. Folks will hate and or let her contract run out. And yeah, why would why would there be something now? Again, I have to go upstairs to do that. It's not like I can go out this door and go to the front door. I have to go upstairs. It's going to be a time lag here. So I have to hold on. Okay, you sent me a photo. Okay, hold on. She sent me. So somebody sent me a package that might end up killing me here. So I don't know. So that's the reason why I'm filming it now. So that way it's actual food here. So we got we got the wrong type of cake. We got choco cake. Now this I could deal with. I could deal with the cheesecake here. This here I can actually deal with here. But we got some chocolate cake here. And we got another piece of cheesecake and carrot cake and carrot cake. So this would be birthday cake type stuff here. And we got a whole bunch of forks here. So I'm going to share with people here. So we got some carrot cake, some cheesecake type stuff, and some chocolate cake. Now the chocolate cake I'm going to give to other people because I don't do chocolate cake. Just for reference here, chocolate cake, it's caramel cake, yes. Lemon cake, yes. Cheesecake, yes. Carrot cake, yes. I believe this is chocolate cake. This is not red velvet. Red velvet, good. Okay, but give me 1 second here. Yep, strawberry cake. Okay, bear with me for one more moment here. Hey, thank you so much for the birthday cake. So I've just put it up here. So that's what we got here. So let me go ahead. Where was this here? Where were we? Yeah. She's telling me to constantly go. That's why I always the goal is not a request. People don't realize I'm always right. No, it's not that. It's not that. It's just when you live with other people people just are what they are here. Did you guys send a stripper to kill the stripper to send no. Yeah, it's like no, they going no, it's like Beanie went to her godfather and they sent him cake. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So everything that I was sending. Yep, boom, yep. You killed my stripper. Strawberry cake, yep. Bean said it's like you can share the chocolate cake, but the carrot cake is for you. Happy birthday. Thank you so much here. So where's my vampire zombie combat stripper? I paid money. I paid money for that idiot. The girls went off and did that. I had zero clue. Yeah, we can make you feel better with choco cake. Yeah, that's the reason why Beanie was giggling with Liz earlier. Okay. So I found out that, you know, I got a text saying I'm on my way, and I was like, I know, but I was like, I remember it. I was like, I would remember ordering food. I doubt I could keep the cake down right now, but thanks. Yeah, but there's a note. I didn't see a note. There was no note because the bag is still here. I took all the cake upstairs. There was just some napkins and empty bag. There's no note. So there was no note. So KK, yep. So that's pretty much what it is here. So now I got people in the house being all nosy about why would people be sending you cake? I was like, it is my birthday, you know. It is what it is. My stripper ate the note. Your stripper could have actually probably ate the cake too. Like I said, it's only 6 slices of cake here, so but it is what it is here. And thank you so much for the cake. I understand that. I understand that, and I get that right now here. Yeah, she's like, I'm going to find that stripper. Yep, you probably will. So pretty much that's it's like the recipe should said, hope you get another 50 years of. Aw, I wish it was there, but it wasn't tied to the bag or anything like that here. So now I gotta deal with the other people in the house here, talking about talking about the cake and all the other stuff. It's like, oh, this, that, and the other, blah blah blah. It's like, y'all are so paranoid. Stop being paranoid, because it is what it is. So anyway, back to the discussion at hand. But that's the reason why I believe somebody there at Marvel kind of slowly woke up and everything, and just and figured out things are just not going the way that they did here. Oh, speaking of which, I still haven't finished watching Daredevil Born Again. I still have to finish that one here. I know that, but when you're dealing with people older than yourself, they're up here. It's like, well, we don't know what source you come from. I was like, it's none of your business. It's just, people in their nosiness. That's pretty much what it is. My stripper just called. She ate the delivery person. Okay, good. Yeah, at least she didn't eat Joe's cake. Yeah, that's the main thing. But even still, the key thing here, going back to what we was talking about, it's like I still haven't finished watching Daredevil Born Again. Finished that up here, but something wasn't right to me about that series as a whole here. It's from the Broadway Cafe. Okay. Yeah, I could only watch Matt Murdock when he's doing the Walk of Shame. That was the other thing. As much as people talked about how bad the She-Hulk series was, to me, it was still a decent tribute to what Byrne was trying to do in the comic book series. It wasn't the She-Hulk that we would wanted, but at the same time, they tried to do too much with too little time. Then they also made her unlikable by making her arrogant from the start. I was like, oh yeah, you just got. It's like you just got you just got these powers because of whatever happened, between you and Bruce up in the car and everything. You woke and you woke up and it's like, oh, now you're like, this Hulk and everything. And it's like, okay, I gotta teach you how to be a Hulk. Oh, I could do this on my own. It's like, no, doesn't work that way. Now, I do appreciate the joke about her true origin from the reporter that was asking her. It's like, we heard that you got your powers when you was, doing a trial doing a trial over this one monster named Trask and this, that, and the other. You got a blood and a blood transfusion gave you your powers. Is that true? If she would have came out and said yes, I believe a lot of people would have been okay, because now you acknowledge her true origin other than what you did in the TV, showed in reality in the show. But it's kind of what it was here. I mean, it was a fun show, but people up here was like, "Oh, it's not what was in the comic books and this, that, and the other. And y'all did too much." It's just like, no, it's like you missed the point of what Byrne did in Sensational She-Hulk. This is not Savage. This is Sensational She-Hulk. When she broke the fourth wall, she was aware that she was in the Marvel universe, not as a character, not as a character who is in a story, but as a character who people are seeing in a comic book. And everything that was happening to her, she realized everything that was going on here. But anyway, on that note, I'm probably going to have to let you guys go because I got to deal with. So pretty much for now on, this is, and I'm just saying those who want to send me stuff here, please let me know ahead of time, because now I got to go deal with the headache about this here. And it's like even more reason why I can't enjoy my birthday. But I got to deal with this situation here. So in that case, live life, grow, and be well. And I'll catch you on next week here. I'll give you guys the final outcome as far as what transpired with the birthday cakes and everything. But it's going to be dealt with right now. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good rest of your weekend, and thank you for watching here.